Hello, it's Caro Feely of Chateau Feely and French Wine Adventures. I am so delighted to be back with you for another module in the Discovery Wine course. We're talking about sparkling wine. Sparkling wine is one of those that makes us all so excited. It's a celebration. And today we're going to be talking about the different ways we can make sparkling wine. We're going to taste the Chateau Feely Brut Sparkling Wine, and you're going to discover it in comparison to the Resonance Red. You can also watch this video just as a video for the sparkling wine. But let's dive in. So thank you for joining me. Cheers. And the first thing is we're going to talk about how we get sparkling wine. So sparkling wine is essentially carbon dioxide trapped inside the bottle, trapped in the wine. And we can do it in one of four ways. The first way, which we're going to talk a fair bit about today, is the second fermentation in the bottle, like the champagne method, and that is how Feely sparkling wine is made. But we're also going to talk about other ways. So the main ones, well, the first one, bottle fermented like champagne. The second one, ancestral, which is a version of the bottle fermented, slightly different. Tank fermentation, and finally carbonation. So there are four ways that we can make sparkling wine, and I'll be sharing that with you in the document as well. Sparkling wine method one. So how do we make this type of sparkling wine? Take the original wine, a dry rosé wine, place it in a bottle, add a little bit of yeast and sugar, and leave it to do a second fermentation. At that point, this bottle has the wine inside, the second fermentation is going on, and the yeast is developing, making interesting flavors. We call this autolysis. It's a wonderful element of quality sparkling wine. We're going to have what's called riddling, to make sure that the sediment lands up collecting at the bottom rather than all the way through the wine. So riddling can be done by hand, or it can be done by gyro pellets. So by hand or by gyro pellets, but during this riddling process, so slowly but surely getting the wine to this point, the sparkling wine. Now it's got the bubbles in it because the second fermentation has created those bubbles. Remember, when we do a fermentation, we create, so when we add yeast, it reacts with the sugar in the grape juice, we land up with alcohol and carbon dioxide. So the yeast creates alcohol and carbon dioxide from the sugar. And in that process then, if we trap that carbon dioxide, we actually keep bubbles in the wine. Of course, during the original winemaking process, we let the CO2 go, because otherwise we'd have explosions in our tanks. But so here we go. We've got our wine. It's been with its fermentation for about anything from 12 months, 15 months. This one that we're tasting today was 14 months, so almost as much as required for champagne, which is 15 months. And when that riddling is finished and the wine is upside down, the sediment is sitting in the top, we can get rid of that sediment by freezing the sediment. When the sediment is frozen and the bottle is opened, the sediment will be pushed out by the CO2, and then we'll have a gap in the bottle, and that is filled with what is called the dosage, the original wine plus some sugar if required. That can be anything from very, very low sugar, what's called brut, or even extra brut, through to sweet. So many different ways to make sparkling. This one is brut. It is 8 grams per liter of dosage, so 8 grams of sugar, and it is a beautiful sparkling wine. So we're going to taste this wine. We're going to talk about where else you can find wines and the different ways of making sparkling. So that was talking about the bottle fermented method. Then we have tank fermented. If we have the original wine in a tank and we add yeast and sugar to that, and we make that second fermentation in a tank. Under pressure, we keep the carbon dioxide in the tank. Then we filter it and put it in a bottle. This is the tank method. And the tank method is what is used for Prosecco. Most of you would have come across Prosecco. It's going to be a lighter, more kind of easygoing style, a little less serious than bottle fermentation. Bottle fermentation brings you these elements of biscuity and a little bit extra richness from the lees or autolysis. Whereas with the tank fermentation method, we're going to stick with just the really fruity characters. And in the case of Prosecco, it's the Glera grape that gives that to us. When we think about sparkling wine in other places, so the sparkling wine of bottle fermentation type like Champagne, quite often the grapes that are used are, in fact, in Champagne, it is always Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay. So Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay. And you'll see Champagne. Where is Champagne? On the map over there in France, and we'll show you a close-up of that as well. So our methods were firstly bottle fermentation, secondly ancestral, which is a version of bottle fermentation, except that you don't add the sugar, you actually stop the fermentation. Well, you capture it in the bottle so that you have the last of the fermentation in the bottle. The third one, tank fermentation. And the fourth one is carbonation. And carbonation is essentially just adding carbon dioxide to the wine like soda. So if you took your soda stream and you some wine, you would essentially be making sparkling wine. That's I guess, what we consider to be the lowest quality of sparklings. It's the one that's the least fine bubble, whereas bottle fermentation is going to give us the most fine bubble. So there's many elements to this. But let's dive in to tasting our wine. If we take our bottle, I'm going to show you the bottle first of all, and I'm going to show you how to open a bottle of sparkling wine. So when we take a bottle of lovely sparkling wine, like this beautiful sparkling wine of Chateau Feely Brut Rosé, this is made of Merlot. We're going to open it, first of all, by taking opening the capsule so we can get at the wine. Then we're going to loosen the cage. So loosen the cage while keeping your hand firmly over the bottle. Loosen the cage and then grab onto it and turn the bottle ever so gently. And you should find that the cork will come out very delicately. No great big explosion. We don't want a Formula One explosion going off. We just want delicate. Ah, there we go. That was exactly what we wanted. We didn't have great splashing of wine all over the place. So let's take our sparkling. We're going to pour it into the glass. You see, there's quite a powerful mousse going on there. And lovely aromas coming off this wine, just beautiful strawberry and biscuity. It's like strawberry cheesecake. Oh, it's just wonderful. Lovely, lovely elements there of biscuity aromas from the autolysis, the second fermentation in the bottle, the red fruit of like strawberries of the Merlot Rosé that is the original wine. And on the palate, very lovely fine bubbles. Lovely fine bubbles that give us this sensation that is typical of the bottle fermentation, very, very fine. And it's also something that will age beautifully. So age in the bottle for a long, long time and be very, very lovely. So what you might find as it ages with this one, that the strawberry will become a little more cooked strawberry, a little more almost like strawberry jam rather than the fresh strawberry. You might get also notes of smokiness coming through. So that is our sparkling wine. And in the other module, for those that are following this as part of the course, the Discovery Wine course, you can compare this with the resonance and discover differently we can make wine from exactly the same vineyard. Because in this instance, we made this sparkling wine and this red wine from exactly the same parcel of Merlot. There are different vintages, they were made in different years, so that obviously is going to make a difference, but a large part is how we made the wine. So the original wine of this sparkling rosé was made just like you heard about how we make the still rosé. So it started its life as a still rosé. Then it did the second fermentation in the bottle and went through the same method as a champagne would, second fermentation in the bottle, as I discussed earlier. And that's going to give us a quality sparkling in the same way as you'll find with things like the Crémant de Bordeaux, the Crémant d'Alsace, things like Cup Classique in South Africa. These are wines that meet the proper bottle fermentation standards and that give us, therefore, this additional complexity of the yeast autolysis. In fact, I forgot to add, Cava is another one, like Champagne, that is second fermentation in the bottle, that is from Spain, and there's more about that in the documents that you get as part of the course. And now we're so happy to be sharing this with you. I hope you enjoy it. It's a wonderful wine for celebrating. It's a wine to enjoy in the spring, in the summer, at Christmas. It's really a very beautiful wine and hopefully one that you will enjoy with many celebrations through your life. Cheers. Thank you for joining me. It's Caro Feely of Chateau Feely and French Wine Adventures. Cheers.